business process cycle. So, Uday, before I discuss about this P2P, I would like to know how much knowledge you have about P2P. So, I'm giving you opportunity to discuss on P2P so that I can understand your knowledge on this P2P. Whatever knowledge you have, no
Just like
matter
it's
you
a
are right or wrong, please tell me.
uh, the P2 means just like it's an accounts payable. So once the contract between the customer and the business, so invoice has been generated. So the customer what they will do, that amount which has to be paid to the customer. I mean paid to the business.
Okay,
From the customer point of view, that is accounts payable means customer has to pay to the business. So that based on the invoice contract agreement between the customer and the business.
mm, no, not satisfied. When a 1%, no problem. I'll tell you what is P2P. See, P2P is a business process where procurement and payment is involved. Okay, procurement and payment is involved. And what is procurement? Procurement is a purchasing process. If company
Yeah.
required anything, if company required any item, there will be a procurement department. They get the requirement of the business, and then that requirement will be processed as per business require. I mean, as per what business is required, right? So basically,
Yes.
in procurement process, how procurement team get to know business is required some item through requisition. Requisition is nothing but it's a document that tells to the business what business. I mean that tells to the procurement team what business is required at present. Okay,
Okay.
and requisition is nothing but it's a requirement document, business requirement document, what business is required, goods and services. So once requisition is processed, then request for quotation. Company have to request for quotation from the different vendors. Different vendors need to provide quotations so that company can decide the best one and buy. See, you can compare this with your common life also. You require TV at home, or your wife required TV at home. So you are the person who do job at home. Let's say, for example. So anybody required anything, they will come to you because you are the right person who will go out and buy the product or buy the item. So anybody required anything at home, they will come to you, and you are the one who will go to the market, or you are the one who will do research and take quotation of different vendors. Like TV is required, let's say. You will take a
Uh,
quotation of LG, you will take a quotation of Sony, you will take a quotation of Samsung, right? And you compare all TVs, right? In terms of quality, in terms of pricing, in terms of quantity they can supply, in terms of uh, uh, everything like discounts they are providing, in terms of warranty they are providing, right? After
yes.
comparing all criterias, then you will finalize with one quotation and you will create a you will give them a purchase order, right?
Yes.
And once purchase order is given to the vendor, what vendor do or supplier do? They will supply TV to your home. They will deliver TV to your home. And once you get the TV, then you will place that TV where it is required. Like your let's say your father's room required TV. So what you will do, you will transfer that to the father room where the TV will be installed, right? And once
Yes.
that is done, then you will make the final payment to the vendor.
Wonderful.
Okay, TV is placed. So give me an invoice for the TV you have delivered, and this is the payment, final payment that I'm going to make, right?
Yes.
Same thing happens in business also, but there are few advanced level I mean, in our life, we just do without knowing, right? Without data processing, without knowing, all this we do. But business do all this knowing the process and following the process, right?
Yes.
Like in our common life, sometimes without receiving invoice also you will make the payment. But in business, they have to receive invoice, then only they can make the payment. If they are making payment in advance, that will become advance payment, but not,
Advance payment.
yeah, but not the invoice payment. Yeah. So request for quotation is processed. Once request for quotation is processed, then quotations will be received in the company. Company do analysis between the quotations, and once quotation analysis is done, company decides the best quotation, and they do create purchase order. And that purchase order, on that purchase order, when purchase order will send to the vendor, and on that purchase order, vendor send goods. So we create GRN, goods receipt note. If you heard about GRN term, the past.
P2P, I have not much knowledge on this one, sir.
Okay. GRN is nothing but goods receipt note. So we are
Not
creating a like in AR when we receive cash, we create cash receipt,
cash receipt.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Same way here, or collection receipt you can say. Same here, we create goods receipt note.
Okay.
Once the GRN is created, what next? Transfer to the location. Transfer to the location where it is required. Or you can say time transfer to the organization. Okay.
Okay.
So once this is done, see it's step by step. First I got a requirement, and then I have requested for quotation based on the requirement from different vendors in the market. I got 3 4 quotations, let's say. I'll compare all 3 4 quotations. I'll pick the best one, and with that best one, I'll create purchase order in my system, and I'll send that purchase order details to the vendor, right? And
Yeah.
once when vendor will supply goods as per the purchase order, that goods we have to receive in our system also, right? So we process
Yeah.
GRN, and then we will transfer to the location where the items are required. Clear on this process?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Next is payment process. How it works. First, invoice. Okay. Invoice, AP invoice, we can say. AP invoice need to process. And when you're processing AP invoice, see, you just don't normally, let's take an example here. Uday is a person who will process purchasing, and Shashank is a person who will make payment. Because in company, every department have their own work, right? So person who
Yes.
purchase, they will not pay. Will payments need to process from the finance department, right?
Yes.
So invoice receives in finance department. So finance department blindly don't pay the invoice. They have to get confirmation from the purchase department that they have purchased so and so item, and then only invoice will be paid, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, people will bill, and if finance department is not verifying, the people keep billing, and then this finance department keep paying, and a wrong payment, incorrect payment may happen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Here in these payment terms, both invoice and purchase order is same, right, sir?
No, purchase order is different than the invoice.
No, purchase order for
Purchase order we create and we send to the company. And invoice
no,
is
no,
something like we receive from the vendor.
for purchase order we will get one number, right? That we called as invoice. That we can called as invoice, right?
No, how you can call? Here you are creating purchase order. Vendor gives invoice number from their system generated number. See, ఇప్పుడు వెళ్ళి మీరు
So
ఒక ఆర్డర్ మీరు ఇంట్లో ఒక ఆర్డర్ క్రియేట్ చేసి మీరు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ యూ హ్యావ్ క్రియేటెడ్ వన్ ఆర్డర్ అట్ హోమ్ అండ్ యూ వెంట్ టు బజాజ్ ఎలక్ట్రానిక్స్ అండ్ యూ ఆస్క్ ఫర్ 1 TV. సో వాళ్ళు ఇన్వాయిస్ జనరేట్ చేసినప్పుడు మీ పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్ నెంబర్ ఎందుకు ఇస్తారండి? వాళ్ళ సిస్టమ్ జనరేట్ చేసిన నెంబర్ వస్తుంది మీకు.
ఓకే. పేమెంట్ ఐ మీన్ వాళ్ళ గూడ్స్ డెలివరీ చేసిన తర్వాత ఇన్వాయిస్ కి
ఏఆర్ లో సేల్స్ ఆర్డర్ నెంబర్ ఇన్వాయిస్ నెంబర్ గా రావచ్చు ఏఆర్ లో. బట్ ఏపీలో
ఎస్
అది కుదరదు.
ఓకే
బికాస్ ఏఆర్ లో మీరు ఇన్వాయిస్ జనరేట్ చేస్తున్నారు, మీరు ఒక్కళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి తీసుకోవట్లేదు కదా.
ఎస్ సార్.
ఇక్కడ మనకి ఇన్వాయిస్ వచ్చేది వేరే వాళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి వచ్చింది, మనం క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం సిస్టమ్ లో. అండ్ వీఆర్ క్రియేటింగ్ జస్ట్ బికాస్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు ప్రాసెస్ పేమెంట్. To validate invoice details with the order and to process payment, we are generating invoice. Otherwise,
ఎస్
why
ఎస్
we will generate invoice, right?
ఎస్ సార్.
We are
ఎస్
not
ఎస్ కరెక్ట్.
generating. We are entering. See, in AR you generate invoice. In AP we enter invoice details given by supplier.
Supplier, yeah.
Understood?
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So after invoice is created, how matching will happen? There are three different matchings are there. Two-way, three-way, four-way. Two-way match, invoice match with PO. దీంట్లో ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే whatever invoice is billed, like invoice is billed 10 units, 100 rupees or 1000 rupees per unit, 10,000. Your purchase order need to bill with same. One second. Code. Your purchase order need to bill with same. I mean, your purchase order need to have the same information. So what we do, invoice details we will match with. We enter vendor given invoice detail in the system, and those details we will try to match with purchase order. If the purchase order
Purchase.
details are not matching, then we will not pay the invoice. We will reject it, and we'll call supplier that you have billed a wrong invoice. Please. Now, see. Now you may get one question, Shashank. How finance team know? Because see, we may have 100 orders created for one supplier. So which purchase order we need to match? How do we know that? See, vendor మనకు
Yeah.
ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇస్తున్నప్పుడు ఆ ఇన్వాయిస్ మీద పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్ నంబర్ మెన్షన్ చేస్తారు. సో వాట్ ఎవర్ ఈజ్ ఆర్డర్ గివెన్ బై యూ. ఇప్పుడు
Okay.
సింపుల్ లాజిక్ నేను చెప్తాను. ఇప్పుడు మీరు అమెజాన్ లో ఆర్డర్ చేసినప్పుడు మీ పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్ జనరేట్ అవుతుంది, రైట్? ఆ
Yes,
పర్చేజ్
sir.
ఆర్డర్ నంబర్ మీకు ఇన్వాయిస్ మీద వస్తుంది, రైట్?
Yes.
సో మనం ఇచ్చిన ఆర్డర్ వాళ్ళు ఇన్వాయిస్ మీద మెన్షన్ చేయాలి. చేయకపోతే యూ విల్ జస్ట్ రిజెక్ట్ ఇన్వాయిస్. Will say why you have, I mean, this invoice do not have any order details, so this invoice is, we don't know for what reason you are billing the invoice. If you put purchase order, then we can know, okay, you are billing invoice for so and so order, right?
Yes.
So if invoice is matching with purchase order, then we will pay the invoice. In three-way match, see, ఇందులో 9 units ఉన్నా కూడా మనం pay చేయం. Okay, so we need
Okay.
exact details of this purchase order. In three-way match, invoice matching with purchase order and goods receipt note, both.
Okay.
Invoice need to match with PO and GRN.
GRN.
ఇది ఎలా వర్క్ అవుతుందంటే, you may receive 10 units you have ordered, but when you are receiving in the warehouse, you may receive only 8 units. You have rejected 2 units due to some reason, right? So if you do not consider GRN in matching, if you follow two-way match, you may pay the wrong amount. Vendor bill 10 units and purchase order have 10 units, you may pay that. But actually you have received, when you verify in warehouse, you have received only 8 units. So
8
you paid the
units.
wrong amount, right?
Yes.
To make sure we pay whatever we have received, we follow three-way match.
3 match.
So in three-way match, what system does you know? Invoice matches with purchase order and GRN. Three
GRN.
documents are involved here: invoice, purchase order,
Purchase order.
GRN.
Good. Yeah. Goods receipt number.
So how it will do matching? Invoice, a price per unit, and quantity from the GRN. Got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this four-way match is for assets. ఈ కొన్ని అసెట్స్ కి ఏంటంటే కొన్న తర్వాత దానికి సెటప్ చేయడానికి కొద్ది టైం పడుతుంది. సమ్ టైమ్స్ vendor may ask for time, like we need 1 month, 2 months of time to set up the machinery, right?
Yes.
So company may not pay the full amount. Company may pay partial amount initially. Company will receive invoice, but on invoice company may not pay the full amount. Especially this will happen in retainage. We call the process as retainage. 50% of the amount you will pay, 50% of the amount you will keep it on hold, and you will release that 50% after completing the installation. So you will do the inspection. After inspection only, you will pay the balance 50% of the amount. In four-way match, invoice matches with purchase order and GRN as usual, like three-way match. But one more process is involved, that is inspection. Final
Inspection.
payment required an inspection, then only the final payment will be paid to the vendor.
And okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you ask me which one is the best matching and most used matching in companies, three-way match.
3-way match.
Three-way
Okay.
match is the best. See, services ki two-way match use చేస్తారండి ఎక్కువ.
సర్వీసెస్ కి
ఇప్పుడు
మనకి ఓకే.
బికాస్ సర్వీసెస్ కి
ఇన్వాయిస్.
మీకు GRN ఉండదు.
అవునవునవును. ఓన్లీ మనం పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్ చూస్తాం, ఇన్వాయిస్ నెంబర్ మ్యాచ్ చేసుకుంటాం
ఇప్పుడు
అక్కడ ఇంకా.
ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నాకు ట్రైనింగ్ కావాలి, మా కంపెనీలో 100 ఎంప్లాయీస్ ఉన్నారు, 100 ఎంప్లాయీస్ కి ట్రైనింగ్ కావాలి, దానికి మీరు పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తారు. వెండర్ సర్వీస్ ఇచ్చాక మీకు అది 10 days లో జరుగుతుందా, ట్రైనింగ్ 5 days లో జరుగుతుందా, అది డిపెండ్స్, రైట్?
ఎస్.
సో వెండర్ మీకు బిల్ ఇస్తాడు, దానికి మీరు పర్చేజ్ ఆర్డర్. వెండర్ ఒకవేళ 5 days లో కంప్లీట్ చేసిన మిగతా 5 days వాళ్ళకి ప్రాక్టీస్ చేపిస్తాడు, బట్ అట్ ద ఎండ్ దే విల్ బిల్ ఫర్ 10 days ఓన్లీ, రైట్? ఇప్పుడు
ఎస్
ఫర్
ఎస్
ఎగ్జాంపుల్
ఎస్.
వైట్ వాష్ జరుగుతుంది. వైట్ వాష్ కి మీరు like you are not buying any. See, you are paying like per square feet. Okay, for example, అప్పుడు మీకు జిఆర్ఎన్ లాంటిది ఏమి ఉండదు. లైక్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ఆర్డర్ ఇస్ ప్రాసెస్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దట్ యూ విల్ పే, రైట్? సో
ఎస్.
వెన్ యూ ఆర్ ఆర్డరింగ్ ల్యాప్టాప్, then GRN is required. When you are ordering some furniture, then GRN is required.
Yeah, those are all goods, right? That's why we are calling it GRN. Yes.
For services, two-way match is enough. For goods purchase, I prefer three-way match, and three-way match is the best option. See, interview lo meeku ఒకవేళ అడిగితే what is four-way match, just tell them four-way match. As per my knowledge, I did not see four-way match using in the company, because my company did not use my project did not use four-way match. But as per my knowledge, four-way match will be used for assets. Okay,
Okay.
because there will
Okay.
be inspection involved, assets and inventory material, you can say, because there will be inspection involved in this process. Got it?
Yes, yes, yes.
If everything is good with the invoice, then payment process. Just payment need to be released. Vendor will receive the payment. After payment is processed, what next? Payment reconciliation with bank statement. Payments
Bank
need to be
statement.
reconciled, right?
Yes,
You can say bank reconciliation or payment reconciliation. Okay. Reconciliation or reconcile. This will be the final process of this P2P. Now let us understand accounting entries of this P2P cycle. See, accounting entries ఎప్పుడు generate అవుతాయి? See, in Oracle, you don't require to enter any account manually in subledger. Automatically system will generate. I think that you know, right? Because
yes, yes.
you're working as an
Subledger, I know. Yeah, yes, yes, yeah.
there will be, I mean, based on the setups, automatically accounts will be generated. End user just do the transaction, right?
Yes, sir.
Same here also. Yeah. So what accounting entries? See, I'll tell you, normally accounting entries will be created or processed where you have money measurement concept. Like you have some item or money movement in the transaction. Like see, you're getting requisition from the other department for the requirement of the business. So there is nothing coming in or going out, or nobody is giving such item which has some value, or nobody is receiving such item which has some value. So no entry is required here. And you're requesting for quotation, no entry is required here.
No entry required.
No entry. Purchase order also no entry. Because I'm just generating order and sending it to the vendor. So no entry is required, right?
Yes,
Because there is no
yeah,
accounting event at purchase order level, right?
yes,
Accounting event starts at GRN level. So when you are receiving goods, you are receiving goods which has some value, right?
yes.
And the entry is receiving item debit, AP accrual credit. The items received is debit. As per Oracle, we enter this. I mean, in Oracle, generate this entry. Receiving item debit, accounts payable credit. AP accrual, you can say as accounts payable also. Accounts payable credit. Got it?
Yes,
And when you transfer to the organization, there will be accounting entry. And the entry is like, if it is material item, then material account debit. Material item debit. Okay. If it is expense, expense clearing debit. If it is the asset, asset clearing debit. And the credit is, see, normally when company is buying, either they buy the expense item, which is required in the business for expenses. When it's a part of expenses, it's a part of asset, any item that is purchased, or it's a part of inventory material, right? It could be one
Yes.
of these. So that's why based on what company have purchased, these three accounts will be hit. This event, the credit is receiving inventory. So this receiving inventory is knockoff
Okay.
because you have in debit and credit. You understood up to here?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
When invoice is generated, AP accrual, debit, and liability credit, vendor account. Liability is nothing but the vendor to whom you are paying. You are liable to
Yes.
pay. So AP accrual is knocked off. So first we say accounts payable, and once we know the vendor, then we knock off accounts payable and we show the vendor account. Liability is nothing but vendor account. And when you
Vendor.
make the payment, vendor is receiving here, vendor have to be debit,
Debit the
and
receiver. Okay.
cash clearing. Cash clearing is nothing but bank, you can say.
Bank. Okay. We are paying means credit what goes out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after you reconcile, a cash clearing or bank will be debit and the cash will be credit. So liability is knocked off, cash clearing is knocked off, and then the cash account with material or expense or asset. Asset, expense or material debit and cash account credit at the final.
Credit. Yes.
Clear?
Yeah. Clear, sir.
Now we'll learn O2C, order to cash. Order to cash, probably you have idea about this because you're working on AR from your
Yes, sir.
startup. So first order need to be entered in the system, order entry, then order booking, and then order reservation, and then order pick and release, and then order deliver. First, when company receives an order, that order need to enter in the system. And once order is entered, that order immediately need to book. If you do not book, what happens?
Order has been cancelled, sir.
It will not cancel. If you do not book the order in warehouse, it will not show the order is booked for so and so customer. And if
Yes, yes.
warehouse people do not get that information, warehouse will supply to the other vendor, I mean other customer, and then you will not have items to supply to the old customers, right? So first,
Yes.
those who come first, you have to provide them first, right?
Yes.
So order need to book. And after booking the order, that order reservation is required. You have to reserve with that customer name. If you do not reserve with the customer name, then next customer, when next customer comes, you may take order for that supplier also, even the items are not available. See, once you reserve, let's say in warehouse 10 units are available. Once you do the reservation for 2 units, it will reduce 2 units.
Two
It will show
units.
only 8 units are available,
What units? Yes, sir.
right? So reservation
Yes.
is mandatory. And then warehouse people will pick the item from the warehouse, and they release it. They pack and release to deliver to the supplier.
So
Sorry, customer. Customer.
customers.
And then order will be delivered to the customer. And then at the time of order processing itself, we can generate invoice, or later also we can generate invoice. Sales invoice or transaction process. And once the sales invoice or transaction is created, this invoice we will send it as a legal transaction document to the customer. Then customer will be paying based on the invoice. The process, we mentioned sales order number on the invoice, right?
Yeah.
Or you can say uh, customer purchase order number on the invoice. And then what next? What do we do next? Any idea?
Sales invoice has been generated. Payment we have to release. Payment we have to pay, right?
We
So
don't pay
payment we have to receive. Payment we have to receive.
receipt. We process the receipt when customer pays.
Receipt. Yeah.
See, if customer is paying directly to the bank, you don't go to the bank and deposit. If customer is paying check, DD, or cash, then you have to deposit in the bank, right?
Yes.
For check, DD, and cash payments, we process remittance. For directly bank transfer, remittance is not required.
Wire transfer is enough, I think. Yes.
Yeah. The reason because you have to show in system in which bank the receipts are deposited, the check is deposited, right? For that you
Yes.
process remittance. For online transfer, already it is remitted in the bank account. Then you don't require remittance, right?
Yes.
After remittance is processed, what next?
Reconcile.
Reconcile. You need to
Okay.
reconcile with the bank statement.
With bank statement.
Yeah. Then your process completes. Now here in this process, accounting entries are like from pick and release it starts. Tag inventory item debit. Organization credit. Whatever inventory items we have collected that is gone. Cost of goods sold, debit, and this is credit.
Credit.
So this is knocked off, and inventory organization credit, cost of goods sold debit. Right?
Debit. Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
What is the difference between revenue and cost of goods sold?
Cost of goods sold. It means including expenses, it will show total amount. Cost of goods
Cost
sold.
of goods sold excluding
Yes, excluding
expenses.
expenses. Yes, sir.
Whatever you have spent to manufacture, let's say I'm manufacturing pen. A pen cost to manufacture is 1 rupee. Okay. So that
Okay.
1 rupee is your cost of goods sold. Adding all other things to the product, I mean, including all other things to the product, you have decided to sell one pen for 5 rupees. So 5 rupees, whatever you are selling, that is your revenue.
That is, yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
invoice creation time, you will have AR account debit, revenue account credit.
Credit.
Receipt time, confirm receipt debit, AR account credit. AR account is gone after receiving the amount. And when you do remittance process, remittance debit, confirm receipt,
Credit.
credit. So whatever receipts are received, see this remittance is required only for cash and DD checks,
Checks.
not for electronic transfer. And after you reconcile cash, debit, credit, remittance also not. And the final entry like cash account debit, revenue account credit, and from here cost of goods sold debit, inventory organization credit. This will be a final accounting entry from O2C process.
OTC process.
మీరు యాజ్ అన్ ఎండ్ యూజర్ మీరు చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఎక్కువ అకౌంటింగ్ ఎంట్రీస్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేయరేమో కదా మీరు.
అకౌంటింగ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ చూడం సార్. జనరల్గా మాకు ఐడియా ఉంటుంది కదా
అందుకే
బ్యాంక్
మీకు
రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ చేసే.
అందుకే మీకు ఐడియా లేదు అకౌంటింగ్ ఎంట్రీస్ కోసం. అందుకే మీరు చెప్పలేకపోతున్నారు.
స్టార్టింగ్లో నేర్చుకున్నాం కానీ ఇప్పుడు అవి రావడం లేదు సార్.
అది.
బట్
మరి ఎప్పుడైనా
వన్
క్రియేట్ అకౌంటింగ్ లో ఇష్యూస్ ఎవరు చేస్తారండి మరి?
క్రియేటింగ్ అకౌంటింగ్లో మేము ఎందుకు ఏం చేస్తామంటే ఏఆర్ నుంచి క్రియేటింగ్ అకౌంట్ చేస్తున్నామంటే అవి జిఎల్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ కావాలి అని.
అవును, అప్పుడు
We are
ఇష్యూస్ ని ఎలా చేస్తారు?
ఆ ఇష్యూ మేము ఒక టికెట్ రైజ్ చేస్తాము. వి హ్యావ్ రిసీవ్డ్ అనే ఎర్రర్ ఏదో వచ్చింది క్రియేటింగ్ అకౌంటింగ్లో ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ కాలేదు అంటే అప్పుడు అది ఐటీ ఇష్యూ వల్ల చూసి రిజాల్వ్ చేస్తారు అంతే. అది కంప్లీట్ అయిందా లేదని చూపిస్తుంది కదా మా క్రియేటింగ్ అకౌంటింగ్, వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ కంప్లీటెడ్ ఆర్ నాట్ అని. ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ షోయింగ్ ఇన్ ద రెడ్ మార్క్ మీన్స్ దట్ ఈస్ వీఆర్ గెటింగ్ సమ్ ఎర్రర్. So it was not all AR entries was not transferred to the GL. So at that time we will raise one ticket and that IT will resolve that issue.
కానీ ఒక్కొక్క ఎంట్రీకి మీరు చూడరు.
చూడం సార్, ఇండివిజువల్గా చూసేకపోము. అలాంటివి చాలా ఉంటాయి కాబట్టి ఏది అయింది అని చెప్పి మేమంతా చూసేలేదు. ఏ ఎర్రర్ ఎందుకు వచ్చింది ఎర్రర్ అని చెప్పి వాళ్ళ ఫిన్ యాపిల్ టీం చూసేసి అది ఎర్రర్ రిజర్వ్ చేస్తారు.
So now you are clear about this
Yes sir.
P2P and O2C both process and entries.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు మీరు సార్ ఇప్పుడు మనం పీ2పీ మీద ప్రాజెక్ట్ మీద వర్క్ చేస్తున్నామంటే బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ అంటే ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్లో మేమంతా మీరు ఈ విధంగా అక్రూవల్ ఎంట్రీస్ సబ్లెట్ రావడానికి ఇవన్నీ ఇలాంటివి సెట్ చేస్తాం కదా మనం.
అవునవును, మొత్తం సెటప్ ఉంటుంది. ప్రతి
ఓకే
ఎంట్రీ ఆటోమేటిక్ గా క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది.
ఓకే ఓకే.
So any questions?
నథింగ్ సార్. కొంచెం నేను జనరల్ ఎంట్రీస్ ఒకసారి రిహార్సల్స్ చేసుకోవాలి ఒకసారి ఇవన్నీ. ఒకసారి నా బ్యాక్ వెరిఫికేషన్ అంతా చేసుకోవాలి ఒకసారి. చాలా రోజులు అయిపోయింది జనరల్ ఎంట్రీస్ చూసుకోకుండా. సో వైల్ వీఆర్ డూయింగ్ సెటప్స్ మీన్స్ వీ షుడ్ నో ఎక్కడ హిట్ అవుతుంది ఏమి అనేది కరెక్ట్గా తెలిసి ఉండాలి.
That's true. Okay, then today we will close here with this P2P and O2C.
సార్ ఈ
Thank you.
రికార్డింగ్ సెషన్ ఆటోమేటిక్గా సేవ్ అవుతుందా, మెయిల్ పంపిస్తారా సార్ ఇది?
నేను పంపిస్తాను రేపు మార్నింగ్
సరే సరే.
పంపిస్తాను.
ఓకే
ఇది
ఓకే
కన్వర్ట్
ఓకే సార్.
అవ్వాలి, దానికి టైం తీసుకుంటుంది. రేపు మార్నింగ్ మీకు లింక్ పంపిస్తా, డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి.
సరే సరే సార్. ఓకే సార్.
ఓకే, చలో బాయ్.
ఓకే సార్. ఓకే సార్. బాయ్ బాయ్.